Boom! Yes, folks, Hume again, how are you going? Listen, man. I have been following with rapt interest and attention this hybrid thing that CXC roll out and the poor his students. Listen, man. It's not easy, you know. It's not easy at all. I am still in the process of going through the feedback from other maths teachers, from other administrators. I still collecting feedback from students. Well, I get the feedback from my own students already, from other students who are working with other teachers, the kind of experiences that they would have had in that January hybrid exam. And listen, the stories are wild. Wild. W-I-L-D with 2 exclamation marks, bold caps, italics. And for those of you who are familiar with their fonts, Cooper Black, tick, 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 right? Listen up, man, it's serious. It's real serious, right? And because it's so serious, I am going to take the unusual step of using this video platform to make a direct appeal to none other than Professor Hillary Beckles, a name that most of us in the Caribbean know as being synonymous with calls for reparation, right? Reparation to the descendants of black African slaves, right? The countries where these people live, right? And I'll tell you why I'm choosing to take this path. Because back in 2020, I don't know if he holds the position now, but back in 2020, when there was a whole hocus pocus and brouhaha about all the different things that CXC were doing in response, in response to the COVID pandemic. If my memory serves me correctly, Professor Beckles was at the top of the chain in terms of the administration, right? We're talking about some fancy title. I don't even know the name of the title now. Something to do with the CXC, and there was a interlocking something between the CXC and the university and whatever. But at any rate, title or no title, Professor Beckles may be somebody that the CXC administration might listen to, because we ain't sure if they're listening to anybody, because the rollout of this thing, listen, man, we hearing stories of laptops crashing. We hearing stories of students having to share laptops. We hearing students, one of my students reached early for a 9 o'clock exam and didn't start the exam until after 12. So in other words, the length of time that she spent waiting for the exam was longer than the actual exam itself. Right? So, I mean, these things are so easy to see. You're wondering what the administrators really thinking. So maybe if Professor Beckles get in on the issue, maybe it might help. I don't know. Appealing directly to Professor Beckles. I ain't writing no letter. I ain't sending no email, because those things have a tendency to get lost in the rubble. Right? I don't know if he will get this video. If he gets it, I don't know if he will do anything, but that is not my problem. My issue is, as somebody who teaches students and as somebody who have seen the craziness and still hearing the stories, to get the thing out. So I want to appeal to Professor Beckles as somebody who has shown a consistent fight for the rights of the descendants of the enslaved. Why are we going that route? Because if it is we taking the position that we're going to call out all of the ills, all of the wrong things and all of the bad things that the colonial slave masters would have done to our ancestors here in the Caribbean, as we properly should, is only right, is only fair, is only just, then how can we turn a blind eye when our people, we, us, the Caribbean people, who themselves, if we want to go the historical route, would have been descended from the same slaves that the colonial slave masters would have oppressed, when they also doing things that are inimical to the interests of their fellow descendants of African slaves. Why are we ignoring that? Why are we turning a blind eye? Why are we not saying anything about that? So if we have a hegemony of black education administrators in the Caribbean, and by black I am including Indians as well, right? Indians are part of the system too. Of course, Trinidad and Guyana are the countries where they are found in the greatest numbers, but every single Caribbean country has Indians living there. So we're not leaving out the Indians at all, right? We have a hegemony of black education administrators doing things that visit frustration upon our youths, our children, and yes, some adults as well too. And nobody's saying anything. But yet, year after year after year, we will talk about what the white people do, and what the slave masters do, and what the English people do, and what the British government do, and what the French people do, and what the Spanish people do, and what the Dutch people do. No problem. We're supposed to talk about that. That is part of our evolution as a Caribbean people. That is part of our, let me say, growing pains as Caribbean people. We have to address the evils that other people do towards us. But we can't do that and turn a blind eye when we mashing up we own thing. Right? How on earth you can have a system, a hybrid system where the infrastructure is not even present? And you don't need a PhD to understand this. You don't need a specialization in curriculum development to know this. How on earth, right? How on earth you could have a hybrid system where it is clear that there are certain subjects that are more suited to this than others? Some subjects it's easier to just read the question from a computer and you just write it. Right? You could do that with certain subjects. And if you have the opportunity to compare what the University of Cambridge has been doing since 2022, 2023, and they have a whole plan that goes all the way up to 2028, 2030, somewhere thereabouts. I had the opportunity to glimpse at it. If you have the opportunity to compare what Cambridge is doing with what CXC doing down here, you would see the world of difference. You would see that they have a clear long-term structure and they're testing little by little every year as they go along, and they're taking the feedback and they're making adjustments. What I found very interesting as a teacher of mathematics is that in the Cambridge setup, I didn't see mathematics anywhere at all. So in other words, the University of Cambridge, not including maths, maybe it might be part of the thing at some point, I don't know. But most people could understand that maths may not necessarily be the most suited to this hybrid thing. Right? I ain't see maths nowhere in the Cambridge thing. But we down here in CXC rushing with the maths. You have people doing a maths exam via hybrid on a laptop. Laptops crashing, people sharing the laptop, which means you're immediately creating an environment for copying. So you have two different things to deal with. We're talking about the actual suitability of mathematics, and I'm speaking specifically about mathematics now. Hybrid. All right. That is something that people could choose to debate if they want. As a mathematician, for me, it is clear in my mind that math is not suitable, but people, non-mathematicians might have a different view, no problem. The infrastructure is not there. And we get any feedback. The problem with us people in the Caribbean is that we just take these things lying down. We pipe up for 2 weeks and then we boil back down. Boil down like Baji, as we say in Trinidad. And then next year they come and do the same stupidness again. And that is further compounded by this arrangement that CXC apparently has with the Caribbean governments, where apparently the ministers and the ministries of education in the entire region don't have a say and they can't say nothing. So CXC could do what they want, and the education ministers and ministries, the people who actually funding CXC, by the way, they can't say nothing. Or maybe they have a system where if they vote and whatever the result is, everybody just had to go along with that. I mean, come on, man. You know? So, I in this video talking generally, but I also appealing specifically to Professor Beckles. Please, please, please. Right? If the goodly professor could do something, right? I don't know. Maybe talk to them, maybe investigate. Because we can't be discussing reparations for what other people do. And we doing things to our own self. And we're not even taking a look at it. We're not even listening to the people. It's like the parents don't have a voice. The students don't have a voice. I don't know. Right? So I hope that, I don't know what influence the goodly professor would have, but as somebody who consistently advocates for reparations, for the things that other people do to us, I hope and I trust that the goodly professor would also be just as invested in tackling the things that we do to us, the things that us do to us, the things that we do to we, right? Some of these students were so frustrated that they just got up and left. My student who spoke to me, she told me she stayed, and I am almost sure that the main reason why she stayed is because I would have been speaking to her repeatedly in the couple of weeks leading up to the exam, telling her whatever happened, do not give up. Don't walk away from the exam. If you go in the exam and you could only do one question, stay and do the one question. And try and see if you could do a next one. That is how I would talk to my students. Right? But the students who maybe didn't have somebody singing in the ears like that, I don't know, they just get up and leave, because you're trying your best and then you come to do an exam where there are a whole host of problems that have nothing to do with you. Plenty of people will give up. Hopefully they will go back at the next opportunity. But there is a clear need for serious reconsideration of this hybrid thing. Maybe it could work for an English exam. maybe even as far as the maths multiple choice, it could work. I would not recommend hybrid exams for maths paper 2 or even a maths paper 3. I mean, I don't have a degree in pedagogy or pedagogy or however they pronounce it, right? All I am is a practitioner of maths. So maybe that's not enough, I don't know. But we had a look over this thing, right? So we have the pedagogical, I'm really not sure the pronunciation, but you know the word I'm trying to say. We have the arguments of pedagogy. Let me check it and see, boy, hold on. Sorry for the video being so long, I nearly finished. Right, I know everybody busy, and if you reach quite here, well then we're nearly done, right? Let me learn something while I'm talking. Now, what is it? Google. Oh, let's by Professor, if you're listening to this video, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm talking to you, and I'm talking to my students, I'm talking to my parents, I'm talking to whoever. The CXC administrators, you know, the thing serious, man. Right? Okay, let me get the pronunciation. Let me hear what they're saying there. Pedagogy, okay, pedagogy. All right, so there's the pedagogical arguments, the curriculum specialists, half of whom are not mathematicians, but it's a separate conversation. Non-mathematicians making serious decisions about maths curricula. Right? We will deal with that next time. The infrastructure. We know it's not there, we know it's not ready, and we still barreling forward with this hybrid thing. So, I just want to end the video by appealing to the girly professor again, Professor Hillary Beckles. Let me see. I'm not sure what the letter for your middle name is, but let me double check it here. I see in here. Sir Hillary MacDonald Beckles. Woo! I forget he has Sir and all too. Listen, I was there, Professor Beckles, in the Queen's Park Savannah in 2003, I think it was. Yeah, when the Ashanti King came. Otum 4, Otum. I like to pronounce people's name properly. Let me get the name properly. Or I find my videos too long. I finish it now, don't worry. But we had to say what we had to say, man. Yeah. Professor Beckles, I was there in person. And I wish that I had brought my Utumfu Nana Usai Tutu II. Yes. You were there. The then Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Rowley, was there. I was there in the audience, and I really, really, really enjoyed the talk that you gave on the reparations. That talk in particular helped me to understand a little more about the structure of what it is you're advocating for. Right? The whole concept of investing into the economies of these countries, these former sugar economies. Right? That was a serious argument. And I actually agree with what you said. Right? I've been following your work as a concerned citizen of the Caribbean. And yes, as a concerned Afro-Caribbean gentleman. Right? So, when I see that you're at the top of the chain in the education administration and you don't seem to be able to bring the same advocacy to bear on things that we doing to ourselves. It's a little disappointing, personally, for me. I mean, we're not expecting perfection from people, and sometimes people may be doing things behind the scenes that we're not aware of. No problem. I will give full allowance for that. But I hope at some level that you could bring some influence to bear on the process. I don't know. But something had to be done. Something needs to be done. This crazy show can't continue. Because if that is where we're going, then, and here is the irony. If the CXC continues like this, eventually we may find ourselves in a position where more and more people in the Caribbean right here will start returning to the English exams. The same GCE and GCSC and the Oxford and the Cambridge and the London. And have others now. The same thing that we moved away from when we formed the CXC in 1979. In the interest of our own independence, in the interest of our own self-determination. If we continue messing it up and stubbornly refusing to address it, people will start going back there. Because the Cambridge exams already enjoy a level of worldwide recognition that CXC not even close to meeting. Regardless of anything we might say, I could go to Singapore tomorrow with my A-level certificate from 1996 and everybody know what that means. Anywhere in the world where English is spoken, you present to them a Cambridge certificate, they know what that means. Australia, English-speaking countries in Africa, even in the US, the Cambridge exams are present. And of course, in the Caribbean here as well. Europe, of course. So if we in the Caribbean are on the path of self-determination and we're trying to do the thing. I mean, yes, there'll be mistakes and missteps along the way, but if we're seeing something, as we say in Trinidad, I don't know what they say in the other islands, but if we're seeing something bright in the daylight, don't wait until night to go and look for a candle to see the same thing. Right? We need to maintain the standards. I mean, the maths exams are pretty good, in my humble opinion. But if the administration is causing this kind of trouble, then, yeah. Professor, you might have to give a whole speech one of these days, where you might have to have an addendum to the reparations conversation, where we're talking about things that we're doing to our own self, in addition to addressing the things that other people do to we. Right? So with all due respect, right, I know that a lot of folks in the Caribbean, they take real umbrage when younger people addressing them directly. And when people bring in things to them, yeah, we have a culture in the Caribbean. Maybe it's an African thing, I don't know. I don't know how it is on the Indian side. But I'm taking the chance and I'm taking the risk of bringing it directly to the professor himself, Sir Hillary. Let me call the whole name, eh? I like to call people whole name, you know. Sir Hillary, boy. Sir Hillary. Sir Hillary, you do anything good. But we need to do it good, man. Alright. Sir Hillary, boy. Sir Hillary. Sir Hillary. Sir Hillary Beckles, boy. Sir Hillary MacDonald Beckles. Sir Hillary MacDonald Beckles, I beg to move.